Good evening, welcome to another edition of the Gersnet Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast. By fans, for fans, where all the content is absolutely free, coming to you in association with Forrest Precision Engineering. I'm your host tonight, Brian Archer. As always, we'd encourage you to get onto the Gersnet website, check out our forums for all your latest Rangers news and discussion. We're live tonight on the YouTube channel, and we'd ask that you continue to share the pod on social media, spread the word, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Before I introduce my guest tonight, I need to give another mention to our partners over at Forrest Precision Engineering. They're a Glasgow-based engineering company who've been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for a number of years, and we're delighted to have them supporting the pod. If you want more information about them, please visit their website at www.forestprecisioneng.com. They also have a stunning executive lounge in the Ibrox main stand, and for more information on that, email the club at hospitality@rangers.co.uk. Right, now to bring in my guest. Joining me tonight is Craig Ray. Craig, how you doing?
Not too bad, Brian. Friday night, a couple of Rangers wins in the week, 2 clean sheets, so can't really complain. I know obviously beforehand we were having a wee chat about the noisy neighbours downstairs, so hopefully they don't interrupt anything. I feel like Sir Alex Ferguson talking about like Roberto Mancini around about 2012, but I don't think my neighbours have got the class of Mr Mancini. But good mate. Obviously good result last night and big game on Sunday. Looking forward to getting into it.
Oh, good. As you say, good result last night. Might as well just start with that. What was your thoughts on the game overall? For me, it was difficult first 30 minutes, but after that we kind of seemed to impose ourselves.
I was really pleased. I was really pleased, Brian. I think it's one of the ones. There did seem to be quite a lot of people that were sort of grovelling and moaning after the game, but that's just the way that Michael Beale's sort of position is at the moment. Unfortunately, nothing's going to be good enough for some people. But I think you need to remember, as much as I was saying in the chat last night that Betis weren't very good, I mean, I still maintain they weren't very good last night. They do have very good individual players. And obviously they topped their group last season, so there is something there in that team. It's the toughest game that we'll have in the entire group, so to come away with it with a win, and I think a comfortable one, to be honest. Like, I never really felt that we were under threat last night. I mean, my dad was saying to me on the way home last night, they were passing the ball about nicely and stuff like that. It's like, well, you expect that. They're a Spanish team. They've got guys in their side like Isco who have won numerous Champions Leagues and stuff like that. And, they're going to be technically better than us. But, I thought we were quite comfortable. And, I think on another day, we could have won 2-0 easily, possibly even 3-0. So, all in all, it was very comfortable last night. But, yeah, you're always going to get your moaners.
Do you think for that first 30 minutes that we perhaps showed Betis a bit too much respect? Going into the game, I know certainly I'd heard a lot about how good Betis were. They were this really good technical side. There's no doubt they've got good players and they're a good team. But I kind of felt like after the first 30 minutes, when the Rangers team sort of realised that yes, they're a good team, but they've not actually cut us open, and then we started to get a bit of belief, and then we started to impose ourselves on them a bit.
I don't know if I would go as far as saying we showed them too much respect in the opening half an hour. I think it was maybe just, if you think about this season as a whole, have we really started any games, regardless of whether it's Betis or whoever on the front foot? I mean, thought we started okay against Ross County. Maybe the Servette game, that's about it. So I just think that's where this Rangers team is at the moment, unfortunately. I think the midfield as well, it was a different midfield. Obviously, Cifuentes came in, Tom Lawrence came in, and obviously we all hope that he's all right. So just think it was maybe getting a bit used to the game and stuff like that. I wouldn't say it was as much as, maybe giving them too respect, but I agree with you in the sense that first half an hour game it was a bit slow, lethargic. It kind of was a Europa League level game. I watched the Celtic game the other day as well, and I kind of came out of that thinking that was a Europa League level game, but it was in the Champions League, just in terms of the quality of both sides. I kind of got the same feeling of that game last night as well. But we came out the second half especially was fantastic. Some really good passing moves, and the goal, I really liked the goal because it was like just players fighting for everything. Ball comes into the box, header, knocked down, shot, another header, then Davies or Seamer, whoever it is, it's trying to get the goal. that's something that sort of fight, that hunger, I think something that this Rangers team's missed this season. So it was good that we finally managed to see that last night in the goal.
Yeah, but you mentioned the kind of manager's position a bit earlier on. Did last night do anything to kind of change your opinion on it? For me, it was probably the first time that this season that I've kind of seen something that looks like a definitive style of play, in terms of I thought we pressed a lot better. I thought we played with a lot more intensity. There was a lot more speed into our play and our passing. What did you think of kind of how we played and our style of play? Was there any change in that for you?
I mean, on the pressing that you just mentioned there, I noticed with about 5 minutes to go, normally you'd be at that stage, if you're 1-0 up against a decent team, just trying to, hold out for the win. But I remember at one point the ball, I don't know if we had a shot across, sort of a Bravo scooped the ball up, just about to throw the ball out. And then I could see Michael Beale on the touchline. He's not a very, he doesn't move about a lot on the touchline, Michael Beale, but I could see him screaming, press, 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 doing that with 5 minutes to go. So I definitely agree in terms of, pressing. We done a lot more of that, and we didn't just allow Betis to sort of play and dictate the game, more so in the second half. Maybe we did at the start of the game, as you mentioned, but I think there was a lot more energy in the team last night. I think there was a lot more passion, a lot more belief, just stuff that we've not really seen this season. I mean, in terms of the style of play, I'm not going to lie, I'm still maybe a wee bit miffed at what his style of play is, but I wouldn't say I'm at the point where I was 2 weeks ago, where it was just angry and setting fire to everything, because as I say, last night we could have won that game 2 or 3-0. I mean, going into half time, okay, the performance wasn't great. We said that to a few people, but by all accounts, we still should have been 2-0 up. We still created 2 brilliant chances. The Matondo one where he was through, the one with Sima where it does look like he's hit his arm, but it's still a massive chance for him. So whilst we maybe weren't playing great, we created 2 massive chances. And, maybe even going back to the Celtic game, I mean, we create that chance for Matondo in the first minute. Obviously, Dessers is miles offside, but, it shows that we could get in behind. The Roof goal, I will always think it should have been a goal. And, Lammers has had a chance as well. So, although you're not trying to rewrite history or anything like that, we obviously know the result of that game. But I do think maybe looking back now, because I kind of seen it last night, we won a sort of bigger game last night, that I can see that maybe in these games we have been trying to do things, and it's just the big moments from individual players that maybe have let us down. And, that could have been the case again last night, because I think Michael B mentioned it in his press conference after talking about the Matondo chance, but he said we could have been here sitting about how, what might have been. So, it was good to finally get over the line in a bigger game anyway, and, not Ruro's missed chances like we have for most of this season.
Yeah, the other interesting thing I thought was both in the starting lineup and in the subs, I thought Michael Beale showed real bravery to start with the team that he started, in terms of the 2 wingers and Tom Lawrence in the number 10 role. And then I thought when he brought on Lammers, I thought that was quite a bold move. I thought he could have quite easily opted for a more defensive substitution at that point and brought on Jack. So I wonder if we're maybe just seeing that kind of taking off the handbrake that Michael Beale's spoken about, but we've not actually seen yet. I wonder if last night was maybe the first kind of glimpses of that.
Yeah, I think it probably was. I mean, I'm quite a balanced person for the most part, but I was excited to see Simon Matondo, start and maybe playing more of a wider position for both of them. But at the same time, I'm going, well, who have we got to come off the bench that can make that direct pacey impact? Scott Wright, that's about the only one. So I think, I'll name drop Simon Matondo. I think maybe Rabbi Matondo at the moment, his best position for certain games is maybe being an impact sub. I'm growing on Sima every day now. I think he kind of reminds me of Sakala in a lot of ways, in the sense that you don't really know what he's doing half the time, but at the end of the day, the guy's produced 3 goals so far. 2 of them have been absolutely massive goals. Obviously, the winner last night, the opening goal against PSV in the qualifier. So the guy's producing big moments for us. So regardless of what people are thinking about his performances, it gives you an opportunity to stretch the game as well, and to put balls in behind that he can chase. And I think somebody like Seema's only going to get better. I think for Matondo now, I do think his best position is probably, off the bench and maybe making an impact, which, by the way, isn't a bad thing, because to win trophies, to win championships, you need players that can do everything. You can't just have 11 players that start every week and that's your 11 throughout the whole season. We're going to play 50 plus games this season. That's not even including international fixtures and whatnot. So we need a squad. We need 25 plus players that can all contribute. And, I think we've definitely got that for the most part anyway.
Yeah. Now, looking at the group, obviously we've only played one game. But for me, beating Real Betis at home, arguably the toughest team that we're going to face in this group, does that kind of change your expectations for the group? I kind of heard suggestions before kick-off that maybe third place, dropping into the conference wouldn't be such a bad thing. For me, this puts us kind of right in the driving seat for not just qualifying for the last 32, but having a real go at top in the group.
Absolutely. I mean, I really don't understand this Conference League chat, to be honest. I don't get people's fascination with it, nor do I understand, to be honest, people's fascinations with the Europa League. I know people might be trying to get up for the game, and I'm not going to lie, last night was one of those games where before it, I was trying to get up for it, and I just couldn't really do it because, watching the Arsenal PSV game the night before, I'm sitting there going, we should be at the Emirates just now. Hopefully not getting scudded the way that PSV did, but we should be there. We should be at that level. So I'm probably still in that mindset where I'm still a wee bit angry and annoyed that we've not qualified for the Champions League. But you need to make the most of the situation that you're in. Pot one of the Europa League in terms of consolation prizes. It's not the worst. It could be, could be a hell of a lot worse than that. But I think maybe people thinking about the Conference League, that's just a step too far down for me. I think, to be fair, if we did drop down into the Conference League, that's something I would be expecting us to win. I think with the Europa League, I expect us to get relatively far, last 16 plus. But I think with the Conference League, I would expect us to win that, to be quite honest, in terms of just looking at our European performances the last few years. So people can talk about the Conference League, they want to be in it because it gets us an increased run at the final. I mean, if that happens, they'll be complaining again when we end up playing the final in a 20,000-seater stadium in Eastern Europe and nobody can get there and nobody can get a ticket. But, in terms of what I feel, we're in the Europa League now, we're pot one seeds. We should be aiming to top the group. Qualification through to the last 32, absolute minimum. And look, if we ended up drawing that game 0-0 or 1-1 last night, it certainly wouldn't have been a disaster. It's a decent result against the toughest team in the group. But in these group stages, if you win your home games and get a point away from home, you're through. So we've got 2 away games next. We're away to Limassol next and then away to Sparta Prague. I think if we can get 4 points in the next 2 games, 7 points, I think that will be us sorted, to be honest. Because you've got 3 games left, 2 of them at home. And obviously the last one away to Betis and Seville. So, absolute minimum for me is finishing second. If we don't finish second, especially after last night, you probably need to say that it's been a disaster of a campaign. But, we need to try and be positive. We won last night against the toughest team. So, second's absolute minimum. But we do have a real opportunity now to go and finish first. And I think if we can go to Cyprus in the next couple of weeks and win, that puts us in control, in command of the group properly, because we've not just done it in 1 game, we've done it in 2. And then, if you can even beat Sparta Prague away from home, which we're, more than capable of doing, you go into that 4th game against them at Ibrox, knowing that a point gets you through on match day 4. Now, if you think back to going through all the qualifiers in 2018 and 2019 and whatnot, and how good we felt qualifying through those groups, the fact that we're now in a position where we could maybe do it in match day 4, like we did a couple of years ago, is pretty good. But I think that's kind of where we should be expecting to be at.
Yeah, I think definitely qualification in the last 32, absolute minimum. Right, I wanted to chat to you about a couple of individual performances that I'd picked out. 2 players that I thought were outstanding, to be honest. Ben Davies for me was a colossus at the back, and I dealt with everything, and potentially got that goal you gave it to Sima, but I'm still not sure who actually scored it. Personally, I'm really bothered who scored it, but anyway, and also John Lundstrom, who for me was pivotal in that kind of taking command of the midfield and turning the game in our favour after the first 90 minutes. Do you think both of those players, or two players that have had a lot of criticism, quite a lot of fans wouldn't have been too disappointed to see them leaving this summer, but do you think they've kind of given themselves a bit of a platform to go on and put in those performances a bit more consistently?
I mean, in terms of that question, it's down to the players themselves. Do you know what I mean? The thing with Davies and more so Lundstrom is we've kind of seen this before where, they'll have a few bad performances and then they'll have one or two good games and then they'll end up doing something stupid in the following weeks or when the next big game comes around. So, my feet are planted firmly on the ground with these two players. Ben Davies, I'm still not convinced on. Fair play to him. He's had 2 good games in a row. We've kept 2 clean sheets. Brilliant. But for me, he needs to be doing more consistently in order to win back that trust that, I kind of lost after the games against Celtic, really, to be quite honest. Lundstrom, I think the European games, obviously, the Europa League brings something out in him. I think his time at Ibrox in Europe's probably an 8 out of 10. Domestically, don't know, maybe a 6 out of 10. But
I just said 4, but anyway.
Well, I'm just trying to be positive on a Friday. But let's take even 8 and then a 4, 12 out of 20. What's that? 60%. So maybe on average 6 out of 10 for a Rangers career then. But obviously he did score that goal to get us to Seville. So I mean, I think Lundstrom's someone who, I'm more sold on because he's had big moments in a Rangers jersey before. So even when he does make mistakes, and he did make a couple at the start of the game last night, but I thought, like you say, he kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck. Everything was moving through him, and he was actually passing the ball forward a lot, which is, something that we've seen in Raskin. Obviously, he's injured, but Lundstrom kind of, seemed to have taken Raskin's role on last night as well, and he did do very well. So fair play to him for that. I hope he continues to do it. I think with the games coming up, another 3 games in a week, 4 if you include the European one on the Thursday. But Michael Beale's going to have a bit of a headache. I think it's centre back now. Davies has been in for 2 games, 2 clean sheets, 2 good performances. He's got to stick with him, in my opinion. I'm still not sold on him. And I think maybe the sad thing with Ben Davies is kind of like Michael Beale, is we've not got that sort of big blockbuster game coming up until the Celtic game at the start of January. Because although last night we did face a good opposition, and we can try and spin it as like a big game, a big result, I think it's maybe just a slight level below what I would deem as like a big game, if you know what I mean. Like obviously, as I say, we've played good opposition, but I still want to see these guys do it against Celtic. And to be fair, I think John Lundstrom's only had 1 good game against Celtic, and that was the semi-final a couple of years ago at Hampden where we won 2-1. Ben Davies has had 0 good games against Celtic. So, he's got a long way to go. More so Ben Davies, for me, he's got a long way to go to sort of win my trust back. But he's going on the right path, and, long may it continue. I'll gladly be proved wrong because it means Rangers will be successful. Yeah,
the thing for me with those 2 players is now they've proven that they can do it, against good opposition like Real Betis. Lundstrom's proven it.
So no excuses.
In the run to Seville. So for me, it's sort of, I hope the manager's just emphasising to him, if you can do it in these big games, there's no reason why, you can't turn up against Motherwell and put in a similar level of performance. Another player that I think has been really key since he came back into the side's Tom Lawrence. Now, I know he went off with, a suspected injury. Hopefully it's just precaution. I think Michael Beale said that potentially just cramp, so hopefully he'll be okay for the weekend. But how important do you think he's been since he came back? For me, he's been key in terms of that creative spark.
He's been brilliant. I think it was great at the weekend against St Johnstone. It was slow to start, but he grew into the game and obviously gets his assist in the end for Matondo's goal. I think last night as well, there was a couple of times where I think maybe just his decision making in the end maybe let him down, which is unlike Tom Lawrence, because I think that's kind of what sets him apart from other people. I think his decision making, maybe it's just him trying to get back into the swing of things, but think there was a point in the first half where he went in quite a mazy run, kind of similar to the one that he went on against PSV last season. And like, you're going, shoot, and then you're going, no, don't shoot, pass. They go, no, shoot now.
I was screaming at the TV for me shooting.
And then it's like the ball ends up getting taken off him. So, you know, he had moments like that where maybe his decision making could have been a bit better, and he was grown into the game. I felt he came off. Obviously, you see him doing injury. I'm just like, oh God, here we go again. Fingers crossed that is just cramp. Obviously, Lammers came onto the place and we got to go from that. But if it is just cramp, and you know, I would imagine he won't play on Sunday anyway. I think just as a precaution, it's kind of like fair enough. But hopefully, he can be back for at least Wednesday against Livy. But the squad depth that I mentioned earlier, I mean, at that number 10 position, our best player there's probably Cantwell. Then you've got Lawrence. They've got 2 players out on loan that could be playing for the first team, and Hadji and Lowry. That's 4. And we've got a 4 probably best suited number 10s that are unavailable on Sunday. But yet we can still bring in a guy in Sam Lammers who, okay, he might not have started the season amazingly well, but he still cost £3 million. Do you know what I mean? So that's incredible squad depth and something that we've not really had for a long time. And, you know, I was shocked that Lawrence managed to play 90 minutes at the weekend. I was even more shocked that he got a start a few days later. But, you know, he still managed to get in, 60, 65 minutes or something like that. So, you know, another decent run out. If, obviously, he's okay. If he's injured, then terrible decision by Michael Beale. He should be sacked for that.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a precaution, and he'll be able to, if not play some part on Sunday, then back on Wednesday. On Sunday, well, obviously home at Motherwell. Can last night be used in any kind of way as a template for the weekend's game? Obviously, Motherwell are going to pose a completely different challenge in the sense that we're not going to get the same opportunities to counter-attack. They're not going to come out as the way Betis did. But in terms of looking at our performance and what we can control, thinking about, you know, the speed of play, the intensity in our play, the pressing, those are the sort of things we should be looking to replicate on Sunday, regardless of who the opposition is.
No, absolutely. And Motherwell will be a tough game. It always is against them. You know, Stephen Robinson, he'll put every single player behind the ball. What am I saying? Stephen Robinson's isn't Mirren manager. I don't know who the Motherwell manager is now, actually. Is it Stuart Kettlewell?
Kettlewell, yeah.
Aye. Well, he's not quite Stephen Robinson, so maybe instead of 12 men behind the ball, it'll just be 11. But no, it'll be a tough game. It always is when they play them. But you know, it's kind of like classic home tie against your standard Scottish opposition. They'll defend, put in the classic low block, and it'll be just up to us to try and break it down, which we're more than capable of doing. I think, you know, Tom Lawrence would have probably been more suited for Sunday, just in terms of trying to break them down. I don't necessarily think you need to play him alongside maybe another attacking player against a team like Betis, where you're going, as you said, you're going to get more chances to break on them. So I think Lammers will probably come in like for like. Be interesting to see what he does with Cifuentes or Ryan Jack. I think Lundstram will stay there just because he's in good form. But I think with Cifuentes, I don't think he was great last night. And with him, I believe he's starting to seem to me like the player who's more suited for domestic games, because I think his European performances have been way off it in terms of just that levels required. And, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because, you know, it is a new experience for him playing against players of this calibre. So it's obviously going to take him time to settle in playing against that quality, which is fair enough. But against SPL opposition, he should be more than capable of coming in and putting in a job. But then again, you've got Ryan Jack there. I mean, I'd be disappointed if we played Jack and Lundstram together against Motherwell. So I think Cifuentes will probably keep his place and try and provide that energy in the midfield that, you know, not many other players can, because I think that's something that we'll need. We'll need somebody that's got that high intensity, high energy, high tempo, that can sort of try and break between the lines to help break down that Motherwell defence.
Could this be, you mentioned it earlier about Matondo potentially being an impact there, could this be a game where that suits him coming off the bench in terms of, we're not going to get the space in behind that Matondo likes to run into against Motherwell, but if we keep him starting on the bench, what he can do is bring him on 60 minutes when hopefully Motherwell players are tiring and he can use that pace a bit more effectively.
Definitely. I mean, we've seen it twice this season. The home game against Livingston and then last week up in Perth, where Matondo came on, and I don't want to use the term change the game because, we're already in a comfortable position, but he came on and he finished the game. So I think that's probably his best role for me at the moment. And again, like I said earlier, it's not a bad thing, but ideally I want to see us try and hit a few goals on Sunday. I know the Livy game was quite a big scoreline, but we scored the last few goals in the last few minutes. So, Brian, I'm really wanting a big performance on Sunday in terms of goals. To be fair, in terms of goal difference, I think we're only 1 or 2 behind Celtic, which isn't actually that bad considering we've been beaten twice already this season in the league. So, although it's 4 points now, normally for me that's 3 games that we're needing them to drop points. But if you can get the goal difference up, then really all you're needing is 2 Celtic draws, and they're going to Livy tomorrow. They've got Hearts and Hibs to go to in the coming weeks as well. So, I do think in the next stage of fixtures up to the international break, I do believe Celtic will drop points, but it's just a case of whether we can hold our nerve and continue to collect points. That's one of the things that kind of annoys me about being in the Europa League as well. It's the Thursday, Sunday, which, some people might say, oh, Rangers Thursdays, that's that, the next thing. They might be great, but one thing that I do not like is Rangers Sundays, because, let's face it, most people have been out in the sauce on the Saturday night, and then the game's on first thing on a Sunday or whatever, or maybe a 3 o'clock on a Sunday, and you're having to drag yourself down to Ibrox for it. Celtic will probably win the day before, so a must-win game turns into a must-win game, and there's more pressure on you. Like tomorrow, for example, Livingston will be a tough game for Celtic, but at the end of the day, this time tomorrow they could be 7 points clear. So, that's not a position that we want to find ourselves in, basically giving Celtic an advantage most match days. And I think that's what we've done by allowing ourselves to be in the Europa League. But, hopefully the players can stand up to pressure. I think, weirdly, if this game was played tomorrow at like 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and the Celtic game away to Livy was at like 12 o'clock on a Sunday, I'd have a lot more, confidence going into it if it was being played tomorrow at 3 rather than Sunday at 3, because I do think that psychological factor of playing before your rivals and having the chance to go further points ahead of them. We've seen that a lot in the year we won the league. I mean, Celtic must have had about 8 games in hand, but when it came to it, we had the points in the bag and they slipped up in a lot of their games in hand. So it's easily done, and it's something that I would rather avoid, but just got to deal with it, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, one of the potential problems for Sunday is we seem to be collecting quite a few injuries, particularly in the midfield area. We're going to be without Raskin, Cantwell, Dowell. There's not a huge amount of options there in terms of rotation. Do you think this is something that could catch up with us?
Hopefully not. I mean, like I said earlier, probably won't have Lawrence as well, but we've got a guy in Lammers that can come in who costs £3 million. So in theory, we still should be okay. If these injuries are only for the next few weeks, I think we'll be okay. I think that was expected by, I don't know if it's for the Livingston game or after the Livingston game, but it's thereabouts anyway. I think with the injuries that we've got, he could come in and play a pretty pivotal role in the next few games. One thing I will say though is I'm glad we're not playing, like a Celtic, or I suppose I've been saying all night I wish we were in the Champions League, but let's be honest, if we're going into a game at the Emirates, with Cantwell and Danilo and Raskin, I mean, a near impossible job just get even more impossible. So, it is a worry, but we do have players there, we do have strength and depth, so really it's a chance for the players that haven't really played that much to, come in as well, and hopefully they can make an impact as well.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see a few faces maybe don't often get as a start, I know Michael Beale had kind of mentioned potential for youngsters to come in, so hopefully we might even see some of that. Before I let you go, Craig, we'll finish up. I'll ask you for your score predictions for Sunday.
3-0, and you mentioned young players there. I think Bailey Rice might be in contention. I'd even go as far as saying for a start. There you go.
It's interesting that Michael Beale kind of called them out in the press conference, and that's kind of unusual, but there does seem to be quite a lot of faith in Bailey Rice in terms of they seem to have marked him as one that's got a real good chance of making it.
I mean, it was strange because nobody spoke about him, and it just kind of came out of the blue. So, whether that's a good thing or not, we'll soon find out. Ironic as well that Bill's saying we don't want to put too much pressure on his shoulders, we want to protect him. I'm like, well, why the hell you mention him in a press conference for a game that he's no playing in and he can't play in? Because I actually read something else because of his age and because he trained with Motherwell for a certain period of time that Bailey Rice wouldn't even be eligible to play in Europe for us for whatever reason, according to a pretty reliable page on Twitter. Because it basically can't be involved in the B list that gets submitted to UEFA, and I think that would only start from next season. So he'll definitely be in the squad on Sunday. But to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if he gives him a start. And you know what? If he does give him a start on Sunday or Wednesday, if he plays in both games, good luck to him. Hopefully he can come in and do a job, and he's somebody that you're wanting Rangers to keep. I think we've kind of seen a recurring cycle the last few years where we maybe get excited about a player and then they either don't really do it, maybe go out and loan, it doesn't quite work out, or in the case of Nathan Patterson, we sell them. So even someone like Alex Lowry, who I know people like to keep talking about, but he's 20 now and he doesn't seem to be getting a game for Hearts as well. So I think maybe the impact that people were expecting him to make, I think that's slowly diminishing sort of day by day by day, sadly. I'm not saying he's not got a future at Rangers or anything like that, but I just think that the position that you're in with him now compared to what it was a year or so ago, I think it's a bit of a 180, to be honest. So, we've got Bailey Rice here at the moment. He seems to be doing all the right things. He's 16, he turns 17 next month, I believe. So if he's here, he's signed a long-term deal, get him in the squad, play him, and, let's see what he's all about, because he seems like he's got it.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see something over the next two games, and I'll definitely take a 3-0 win on Sunday. Right, guys, I think we'll call it time there. All that's left for me to do is thank my guest, Craig. Thanks as always.
Not a problem, mate. Absolute pleasure.
As well as being live tonight, the show will be available on all podcasting platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Acast, Stitcher, and we'd ask that you leave as a rating on your preferred podcasting app. I think it'll be John, Rob and Chris Jack will be back on Sunday to review all the events from the weekend's match. Bye for now, guys.